Hi everyone, Lauren Grant from Zestful Kitchen here. Over the next day and a half, I'm going to be taking you through my process of how I brine and cook my turkey for the Thanksgiving table. Today I'm going to show you how I put together a super simple brine and make it ahead of time so we can save time down the road. And then tonight, right before I go to bed, I'm going to pop in a thawed turkey and let it brine overnight for 6 to 12 hours. And then tomorrow we're going to come back and I'm going to take the turkey out of the brine and get it ready for the oven. And I'm also going to show you how I cook it and how I temp it to make sure it's cooked but not overcooked. So since we're trying to keep it simple and trying to keep it easy, I'm going to show you how to make a flavorful but simple brine that takes just a few ingredients and just a few minutes to throw together. The basic components of a brine are a lot of water, a lot of salt, and some flavorings. And so today we are combining a cup of kosher salt, which helps keep the meat really moist and juicy, with a little bit of orange juice concentrate, which will add flavor and then also tenderize the meat a little bit. So I already have quite a bit of water here. We're gonna need 2 gallons of water, so I'm just going to add the last 4 cups of my water to this big bowl. And then I'm going to add in a cup of kosher salt, and I'm just going to sprinkle it in and then whisk it all together to make sure the salt dissolves. It won't take too long, but you're gonna have to be a little bit patient just because that is so much salt to dissolve into the water. And you're gonna want cold water because you don't want your turkey to rise in temperature too much just while you're brining it. Okay, that looks good. And then I'm going to add 2 12-ounce cans of thawed orange juice concentrate. Just gonna pour that right in and also give that a whisk. And then after that, you can choose any flavorings really that you want to add. Rosemary would be great, some thyme sprigs. But today I'm gonna keep it simple right out of the pantry. I'm gonna add a tablespoon of black peppercorns and 2 dried bay leaves and just put them right in. And then all that's gonna be left to do is transfer this to a really large container, or even those turkey oven bags, you could do that as well. I'm gonna drop my thawed turkey in it, transfer it to the refrigerator, and let it sit for no more than 12 hours, because after 12 hours the meat kind of starts to get a little bit mealy. We want to keep it nice and juicy and tender, so I'm going to transfer it to the fridge for 6 to 12 hours tonight, and I'll show you the process of cooking it tomorrow. All right, our turkey was brining overnight for 12 hours, and I just took it out of the brine and transferred it to this baking sheet so it's easier to work with and so we can get it dried off. I'm just going to dry the skin with a few paper towels. We want to make sure we dry it pretty well so we get the skin nice and crispy and golden brown while it cooks. Oftentimes after patting it down, I'll also transfer it to the refrigerator uncovered for 30 minutes, and that just also aids in drying it out really well. But for today's sake, I'm just going to be using a paper towel to get it nice and dry, and just work on the top half. You don't have to work on the bottom half of the turkey, or the breast side, not the bottom side. So, all right, so it looks pretty good. I'm also going to be using the turkey itself to tie it all together. I'm not going to be using kitchen twine, although if you have it and you prefer using kitchen twine, by all means, use kitchen twine. But today, I'm gonna show you just a nice trick of getting the legs to be secured into the turkey using itself. So, we take the legs and you just tuck it in underneath the skin that's still there, that's intact on the turkey. Put both legs underneath, and you can see that it just holds them in, and that ensures even cooking. Likewise with the wings, we're just going to we don't want them flying around. We want them underneath the bird. And so I'm just going to secure them right underneath the body of the bird. It's very easy, but if you don't want to handle it, by all means use kitchen twine. Okay, so our bird is all ready, and what I like to do is I like to cook the turkey breast side down for part of the time, and then rotate it back up breast side up for the other half or 3/4. The reason being, the juicy dark meat the juices from the dark meat run into the breast meat, and it helps keep that nice and juicy. So it's nice to start the turkey that way, and also because the dark meat takes a little bit longer, and this way our breast meat doesn't get overcooked. So we're going to start that breast side down in our roasting pan set with a rack, preferably with a V-rack. I don't have a V-rack, so I am using just a flat rack. You're just going to transfer the bird breast side down and it will be ready for roasting. My oven is preheated to 400 and I'm going to roast it for 30 minutes, and then I'm going to bring the bird out and I'm going to rotate it breast side up. During those first 30 minutes of roasting, I'm going to take this glaze mixture, has a little bit of marmalade, some Dijon, garlic, and I'm gonna throw in some herbs. I'm gonna cook that on the stovetop for a little bit until it gets nice and jammy. And when that's done, the first 30 minutes will be over. I'll bring the turkey out, I'll rotate it, I'll brush it with some glaze, and I'll cook it for about 60 more minutes, brushing it with glaze every so often. I'm looking for the breast meat to reach 160 degrees and the dark meat to reach 175. So we'll start temping it at about 45 minutes after those initial 30 minutes. Pretty easy, pretty simple, and it gets it done pretty quick. So right before putting it into the oven, I'm going to take some either chicken broth. I'm using bone broth. You can use either, or even a little bit of white wine. And I'm just going to pour it into the bottom of the roasting pan. And this is going to create steam and keep that breast meat nice and juicy. So we'll be back in about 30 minutes when I show you how I rotate it and how I start glazing it. All right, the first 30 minutes in the oven is done. And we are going to flip the bird now from the breast being down to the breast being up. So I'm just gonna take 2 kind of wads of paper towels, since I think tongs can be kind of slippery. So we're just going to, oops, carefully flip our bird. It's very easy with paper towels because they're nice and grippy. All right, it's that easy. Okay, and then I had my glaze ingredients that I was telling you about that I cooked down. I brought to a boil and then let cool a little bit on the stovetop. I put a sprig of rosemary in there and pulled out the sprig, and some still, a little bit of rosemary, like little leaves are still in there. That's okay, they'll add a ton of flavor. So you're just gonna brush this on the skin, just a little bit, because we're gonna keep brushing it on as we cook. All right. It is already starting to smell like Thanksgiving in here. All right, that is good for now. And as the skin starts to dry out even more, the glaze will stick a little bit better. So we'll be back. All right, our bird is out of the oven and it's looking nice and golden brown. It was in the oven for about 1 hour and 15 minutes, and so now it's time to check it for temp one last time to make sure it's cooked but not overcooked. And to do so, I'm going to use an instant read thermometer. I love how easy it is to use. I love how accurate it is, and how compact it can fit in any drawer in your kitchen. I love the ThermoPen from ThermoWorks. It's so reliable. I've used it in countless test kitchens, and I just love using it in my own kitchen. So we're going to start with the breast meat, and we want to make sure we're at least at 160. So I'm going to insert it in about 1.5 inches and make sure you're not touching any bone. If you do end up touching the bone, just pull it back out a little bit. And we're at 162, which is perfect. And then we're going to test our dark meat. We're going to do the same thing, make sure we're not touching bone, and we're looking for at least 175, and we're at 178, so we're ready to go. I'm going to let this rest for about 30 minutes, and then I'm going to slice into it, and it's time to eat.